What is up, sports bettors, far and wide? AP and Unit back with another episode of the Fast Five, presented as always by our friends over at Superbook Sports. I'm out here in lovely Denver, Colorado, and you're close to the mothership out there in Las Vegas, Nevada. We'll go over 5 quick topics as it pertains to the world of sports and sports betting, and get you guys ready for the weekend ahead. Unit, my man, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
How's it look like I'm doing?
Yeah, man. After last
What a
night,
game yesterday. What a comeback. I came into that game with like the lowest expectations possible. But when you see the fire of the team coming back from down 19 or whatever it was, you see Pat Bev on defense. You see Alex Caruso going off on defense. Zach LaVine hitting every shot. DeMar DeRozan's daughter forcing 18 missed free throws.
MVP.
They sucked me right back in, and got to take care of business against the Heat on Friday. But I'm an idiot. I think they have a chance now. I'm sucked back into where I believe that this team has an actual chance of winning the finals despite sucking. I'm an idiot, but the Bulls, I'm all the way in, seeing red. Bulls all the way through now.
I respect it, man. You got to ride with your squad. I know you've been a Bulls fan for a long, long time, and they've given you reason to believe. After yesterday's come from behind victory, I'm sure if you were betting it out there, anyone out there, you probably got a really fat, juicy plus number on the money line or a lot of points on the spread. So congrats to anybody that cashed those Bulls tickets, whether it was pregame or betting them live. And then there's also a lot of happy Oklahoma City Thunder fans out there after they managed to come back against the New Orleans Pelicans. They win 123-118, and now they'll get ready to take on the Minnesota Timberwolves for the rights to the 8th seed. So this has been kind of a common theme. Like, I hit good with the Lakers. I bet them live plus money, in their play-in tournament game. And then I bet yesterday Oklahoma City, I got them plus 7.5 at halftime as well. So, the favorites have not really been doing too well early on in these playing games, my man.
No, it's been a great time to take the dogs. And it's actually an experiment that I've been doing myself. So I've been taking the dogs outright and the points because I liked them in every single game. So I decided to sprinkle a little bit on the money line and take it against the spread. So they're 4-0 against the spread in the first 4 games and 3-1 outright. So you can't complain there. It's a nice profit. And I think I'm going to do the same in the games tomorrow. I like both dogs there too.
Okay, well, yeah, let's dive into it. You kind of teased it there. So you got the Chicago Bulls against the Miami Heat. Looking at the odds on Superbook, the Bulls catching 5.5 points on the road, really low total of 208.5. And then Oklahoma City Thunder, the same spread actually, plus 5.5 on the road at the Minnesota Timberwolves with a total of 227.5. And usually when you do shows like this, radio, you kind of want to purposefully disagree sometimes, spark conversation. But I agree with you. And I don't know if it's just recency bias. I don't know if it's just because 2 teams that just lost versus 2 teams that just won. But I mean, I just don't think Miami and Minnesota are all that great right now, especially compared to their respective competition in Chicago and Oklahoma City. So I'm with you. I'll take the points plus 5.5 with Chicago and the Oklahoma City Thunder. But I would not be surprised whatsoever if both of these dogs won outright in their respective matchups to punch their ticket to the NBA playoffs as the 8th seed.
Yeah, if you would have took them both money line parlay yesterday, it would have been plus 830, I believe I saw yesterday. Wow. I definitely wish I would have done that. I took them separately, but might have to do that tomorrow. Parlay them together. They're both plus 5, so almost a little over 7-1 for tomorrow.
Yeah, plus 712 if you go with the Bulls and the Thunder on the money line. So we'll keep an eye on that one. But I mean, with those respective games, man, I mean, the Bulls a lot better than I do. I can speak to the Thunder watching a lot of Western Conference basketball. I mean, SGA and Giddey, like, they've just got some players, man. And Oklahoma City is just one of those young, gritty, hungry teams. And, whoever is the 8th seed in the Western Conference will play my Denver Nuggets when it's all said and done. So I'll be paying, sharp attention to that one. But, I'm in agreement with you, man. I think both of these teams against the spread and on the money line, live dogs to win and cover. What do you think is the key for the Chicago Bulls tomorrow against the Miami Heat, though?
Well, they do have Zach LaVine. I mean, he's going to have to channel into that mode that he was in the last game. They're not a team that is able to just, light up the scoreboard shooting threes. They rarely shoot threes, but they're going to have to just stay aggressive on defense. And they've got a few of the best guys in the league at doing something like that in big games with Pat Bev and Alex Caruso, a few other guys. Might need to step up. I think Kobe White, he's been playing great recently. He didn't play a whole lot in the second half. He got quick 9 points. That's another guy they're going to probably have to rely on to shoot some threes. Him and LaVine are going to have to knock down threes. But that offensive game plan was looking terrible early in that game, and when LaVine was able to take over, that's when you saw them, come back from that big deficit. So they're going to probably have to lean on LaVine and probably get DeMar involved a little more. I know the Raptors were doubling him and trying to shut down DeMar, putting more effort into that, and that kind of opened the game for LaVine.
Right.
I think that's probably their path to victory, and I think the Heat are probably a better matchup to do so.
Yeah, no, and I think you could say the same thing here. Obviously, Minnesota looked pretty sharp through 3 quarters in that matchup against the Lakers before it all came crumbling down. But we'll keep an eye on that one. Get those bets in with Superbook Sports for those final games to decide who will be the 8th seed. Chicago against Miami in the East, and Oklahoma City versus Minnesota in the West. And speaking of the playoffs, speaking of series, we've got our series prices out right now on Superbook Sports. We've got the Nets and the Sixers. We've got the Hawks and the Celtics, the Knicks and the Cavs, the Warriors and the Kings, the Lakers and the Grizzlies, the Clippers and the Suns, and a couple of matchups that are still TBD, waiting on the overall outcome of those final play-in games. But instead of just going series by series, it would be shocking if, Philadelphia lost to Brooklyn or if Boston lost to Atlanta. Give me a team, give me a series that you've got your eye on in regards to a value bet or just a bet or a spot that you like. Maybe you want to lay some juice, but you feel like the juice is worth the squeeze in that sense. What's a series that you've got your eye on at Superbook Sports that you'd like to lay some money on?
Yeah, so when I was looking through these series prices, I was thinking, none of these dogs in my eyes really have a chance other than just one that stuck out. And I have kind of a feeling that you might say the same thing, even though we've agreed on everything the start of this conversation. But I'm going to say the New York Knicks, they're plus 175 against the Cavaliers. I think that is the one dog that could knock off the better seed.
Really? So I wasn't even considering the Knicks. I like the Knicks a lot. I think Cleveland has a lot of talent. That's probably the most intriguing matchup, in my opinion, in the Eastern Conference, at least in the first round. And you're getting a nice plus number. I look at the Western Conference. I can't pick the Warriors to lose to the Kings. I kind of like the plus 235 there as well with the home court advantage and kind of the emotion. But if I'm going straight value, and maybe it's because I don't like the team that they're playing and they're on a crash course to play the Nuggets in the second round if it does line up that way, I like the Clippers at plus 350. And I know they're not going to have Paul George, but you've got Kawhi Leonard, who, when healthy and when playing well, is one of the best players in basketball. They've got a nice set of rotation players as well. Russell Westbrook. They've got guys that have been there and done that in the postseason. As does Phoenix. It's obviously an uphill battle. But I think the Clippers, with the guys they have, the talent they have, plus 350, if I'm shooting a dart and looking for value on these NBA series prices, that's the way that I'm looking myself. I think it's going to go – I think the Clippers and the Suns are going at least 6 games regardless, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that'll definitely be a fun series. But let me ask you this. Of the two teams in the play tomorrow, the Thunder and Timberwolves, obviously being a Denver guy, do either of those teams scare you more, or do you think that no matter who it is, the Nuggets are just going to run through them?
I've talked about this on Afternoon Drive on Mile High Sports Radio, with my co-host Cody Rourke, over the last week and a half or so. And regardless of who their opponent was, even going back to when, you still had New Orleans and the Lakers in the mix here, Denver should, if Denver has to play more than 5 games in that opening round series, I think there's some trouble. Right now, I think I'd rather to see the Nuggets play the Minnesota Timberwolves as opposed to the Oklahoma City Thunder. But that's just me. We'll see how it shakes out. But I don't know. I think Denver is in a good position to, succeed in the first round regardless. But here's an interesting price that I want to get your opinion on as well when it comes to NBA series. You have to lay juice here, and I don't typically like laying juice over the course of a series, but the Memphis Grizzlies at minus 135, that's not an awful price. Obviously, the house number is minus 110, so a little bit above that. I really like Memphis to win that series. And at minus 135, you could lay a good amount of money on that and get a decent return. I think part of this is why it's as low as it is because they're playing the Lakers, so obviously you're going to get a lot of hype. I think the Grizzlies at minus 135, if you're looking for a safer series bet where you can make some decent money, I don't mind that whatsoever.
Yeah, I hate to keep agreeing with you, but I'm on the same page. That was the one I was going to pick when you asked earlier, but I had to get a little plus money action in first.
I respect it.
But I love the Grizzlies in that series, but also might have some emotional attachment to that because I am a proud LeBron hater. So I like to root against the Lakers too.
And yeah, like I was saying, I bet the Lakers live at halftime in the middle of that game against Minnesota. And if that Anthony Davis foul on Mike Conley at the end of the game ended up costing them, I was gonna,
Oh
it
my
would have been
God.
scorched earth. It would not have been good. But yeah, I just think I don't really like Memphis all that much, especially after what happened the last time they played the Nuggets. But it is one of those situations where minus 135 for a team that has been rolling for practically the entire season against a hobbled Lakers team. I don't mind that whatsoever. But all right, let's move along to Major League Baseball. And when we did our show last week, my friend, I believe the Tampa Bay Rays were 6-0. They are now 13-0. They just keep winning. The 162-0 perfect season is still very much alive and well. I mean, they are just such an exciting team. What's been your overall impression of Tampa this year? I mean, to win 13 games out of the gate is certainly not easy.
Yeah, they're ridiculous. I just watched their game earlier today. They got down to it was a 3-1 deficit and then scored 7 runs or 6 runs there in the fifth.
Crooked number.
They're incredible. I mean, just hitting the baseball. They're got like 8 more home runs than any other team in the MLB. One thing that sticks out to me, if you look at their run differential, they're plus 71 this season. And the next closest team is the Yankees that are plus 28.
It's insane.
That's a lot more runs than any other team.
Now, do that again comparing Tampa and New York Yankees payroll. And when you kind of compare it, all things considered.
Like the third lowest payroll on the MLB.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I think the Yankees are the second highest.
It's difficult to win whether you're spending a bunch of money or you're playing conservative, whatever it might be. But the fact that the Tampa Bay Rays, a team that have been on the cusp of being relocated, new franchise elsewhere, whatever it might be, 13-0 to start the regular season. That's worth talking about. It was worth talking about last week when they were 6-0 and they still haven't lost. So that's been impressive to say the least. But what also has been impressive is St. Louis Cardinals rookie outfielder Jordan Walker has been on an absolute offensive tirade to start his career. He's reached base safely. He's recorded a hit in his first 12 games as a major league player. And that's actually matching that of Eddie Murphy from all the way back in not the actor Eddie Murphy, the 1912 Philadelphia Athletics player Eddie Murphy. He's the first player Jordan Walker is since Eddie Murphy to reach base with hits in 12 consecutive games to start a career. And Eddie Murphy did that back in the year 1912. I believe that's the same year in which the Titanic sank, to put that in perspective. So my question to you, what's more impressive? Tampa Bay starting the season 13-0 or Jordan Walker recording 12 consecutive hits to start his career, matching a record that was set back in 1912?
Yeah, if you want to go all the way back to 1912, I'll one-up you. I'll go back to 1884. The St. Louis Maroons went 20-0, and that's the record for the longest win streak to start a season. So I'm going to go with the Rays. They've been more impressive. Not anything to discredit Jordan Walker and his hot start. The Cardinals, that's been their one light spot of the start this season, as their pitchers struggle, and their record's not off to the greatest start. But Jordan Walker plus 350 at Rookie of the Year. He's the favorite, but I'm still going to go with the Rays as being more impressive, as their bats have been lighting up the scoreboard pretty much every game, and they're not just winning close games. They're blowing some teams out.
I think it's fair. I mean, you could really go either way here. I'll go with Jordan Walker simply because these pitchers have become so damn good in the modern age of just, blowing fastballs by these guys, the deceptive curveballs, the changes, the sliders. To be able to do this as a rookie, and I believe he was drafted in the year 2020, so not so long ago, to do it in this short amount of time and to burst on the scene with 12 consecutive hits to begin a career, in this era of baseball where the rules are changing, the pitchers are better, the pitchers are coming in faster. I mean, I just can't get enough of Jordan Walker, man. I was trying to get him on my fantasy team. He went early in my draft. I mean, what an impressive start for the young kid out there in St. Louis. But whichever way you slice it, whether you want to go with Tampa Bay or Jordan Walker, it has been a fast and furious start to the baseball season, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. And another rookie, I mean, we mentioned Walker, of course, but James Outman with the Dodgers, he's actually third in our NL Rookie of the Year odds. He's sitting at 4-1 alongside Corbin Carroll.
Yeah, no, so, it's still very early. We'll see how it shakes out, but it has been absolutely fun, both in the American League and the National League. All right, let's get a little NFL football going on in our lives. And you sent me this fantastic graphic that you made up over at Superbook Sports. You got $15. Build your own team, and you've got a variety of different positions, receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, tight ends. I'll start with you. I've got my team built. You got $15 with this grid system. Build your team, my friend.
Yeah, so I just did this on our TikTok and Instagram the other day. So go follow there at Superbook Sports. But I went with a quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. You have to.
Okay.
He's the best player in the NFL. And no matter who you select the rest of the way, running back, tight end, receiver, it doesn't matter because Mahomes will make the team better no matter who he's got. He's the best player in the NFL. You have to spend the $5 there.
Okay.
And then running back for these 4 positions, I think is definitely the least valuable. So I'm going to save some money here and get Kenneth Walker, who I think is a steal at $1. So I'm at 6 there. And then tight end, I went with Mark Andrews, great, reliable tight end that, of course, Mahomes is going to make even better than he is. One guy actually in our TikTok comments made a good point, actually on the $2 option, Kyle Pitts, how much more electric he would be with Patrick Mahomes. So that had me second guessing there, but I'm not going to switch it up. I'm going to stick with Mark Andrews. And then the first wide receiver, I'm going to go from my Chicago Bears, Darnell Mooney. He's a great deep threat, and I have to have a Bear on my team if I'm making a franchise. Come on.
Fair.
And I've got $5 left to spend, so I'm going Tyreek Hill reunited with Patrick Mahomes. That's my team.
Okay, I like it. That's pretty solid for $15. And you can get creative here. We share a similarity on my team on the running back position. I also went with Kenneth Walker, I think, for $1. That's an absolute steal. Bell cow type of running back. I picked him up in the middle of fantasy football last year, carried me the rest of the way. So I love me some Kenneth Walker, young running back, rookie deal, good price point. I'll absolutely go there. But I considered Patrick Mahomes. I considered Joe Burrow at $4, but I was like, there's one quarterback that I got a soft spot for. We're not sure where he's going to play football next year. And you got him at a good price. I went with Lamar Jackson as my QB1 at $2. I was like, all right, somebody's got some versatility, can run, can pass, do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So I went with Lamar Jackson at $2. I went with Kenneth Walker at $1. So that's $3 in. And then I kind of took a page out of the Mike McDaniel playbook a little bit. I love what Miami's doing there. And I say, if I got Lamar Jackson, let's set him up with a team that Baltimore should have been setting him up with over the last couple of years. So I went with speed at the wide receiver position. I spent $5 on Tyreek Hill, as did you. Pair those two up. I think it's a match made in heaven. And then I also spent another $5 on a security blanket. I went with the best tight end in the league, in my opinion, Travis Kelce. So that's my last $5. And it left me with $2 left over. So I went with another speedy wide receiver in Brandon Ayuk to round out my team. So I got Lamar Jackson, Kenneth Walker, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and Brandon Ayuk. A lot of speed on the outside, a lot of speed at the quarterback position, a bell cow running back, and a safety blanket tight end.
Wow, I'm a bit surprised going cheaper on the quarterback side.
I love Lamar Jackson, man. If you're going to give me value, I think Lamar Jackson is as good as Joe Burrow. He's in the same realm. Maybe if you want to rank, these guys higher or lower, whatever it might be. But in my opinion, Lamar Jackson is an elite level quarterback who is worthy to be at the top of the pecking order. So give me Lamar Jackson all day, every day. I also just kind of like the versatility aspect too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, though, if you got Patrick Mahomes on the board, any opportunity to have him on your team, you have to take that.
I don't blame you, but I was like, let's see what Lamar can do with legitimate receivers and running backs around him. So
it'd be fun to watch, that's for sure.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that, but I love that. Get your team built over at Superbook Sports. Follow them on social media at Superbook Sports. But all right, my man, to get out of here, let's have some fun. I was in the middle of doing work yesterday, and I got this notification on my phone. It's official. Jake Paul, the problem child, is getting ready to take on Nate Diaz in a boxing match. And you told me that this will follow up with an MMA match eventually, sooner rather than later. But looking at the odds for the boxing match in particular, scratching my head a little bit. I can't believe that Jake Paul, after losing to Tommy Fury, is not only the favorite, but a pretty heavy favorite at minus 250, compared to Nate Diaz, to come back on him at plus 210 over at Superbook Sports. How do you make sense of this line?
This fight in general doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I think the way this fight plays out, all of these Jake Paul fights, I've actually been I got my hand up. I've been pretty excited for him. And every single one, I've been pretty disappointed. I know he's had some highlight reel knockouts with Askren in the second Tyron Woodley fight, but I've been let down. I'm a little disappointed by these fights, and I think this one is going to be much of the same. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm sure Nate Diaz is going to be dancing around, laying on the ground, leaning on the rope,
slapping.
He does in the octagon. So I don't really know what to expect or which side to take. I'm more looking forward to, I think, in the end of 2023 or early 2024, they're talking about getting in the octagon and fighting in PFL. I guess that's an octagon, right?
Yeah, I
Or
think
I want to
some
circle.
sort of cage. I think we could call it a cage.
But I just want to see them fight MMA because it would be much of the same where Diaz is going to dance around, maybe slap him. He's going to bleed everywhere once he gets touched. And then whenever he decides he wants the fight to end, he could put him in any submission that he wants.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And MMA is one thing. I understand that that's Nate Diaz's realm, but even if it's boxing, I'm going to take Nate Diaz. Like the fact that I'm going to get 2-1 odds on Nate Diaz, professional fighter, one of the toughest SOBs that we've seen in the fight game ever against Jake Paul, who I have a lot of respect for. I know he lost against Tommy Fury and whatnot, but he's really come a long way as a professional fighter. But I ain't taking Jake Paul, especially at minus 250, if I could take Nate Diaz at plus 210. That's just me, though.
You know, it's going to be more entertaining than the fight is going to be the press conferences.
Yeah, man. I'm sure there'll be a lot of F-bombs, a lot of, calling each other some
Maybe
vulgar
throwing
words.
bottles.
Yeah, prime bottles is what they'll be throwing, not water bottles.
Prime bottles.
So maybe Uncle Dana will make an appearance. I don't know. I don't think he's too happy about that. But we'll see. Again, Jake Paul minus 250, Nate Diaz plus 210. Get those bets in with Superbook Sports. But all right, my man, before we get out of here, I was talking to you about it before we started the show. If you ever watching Sports Center, and obviously the Baltimore Orioles are like the most fun team outside of the Tampa Bay Rays right now in Major League Baseball. You see a lot of Superbook signage. You see a lot of Superbook logos around Camden Yards and whatnot. And that's because our good friends over at Superbook Sports recently just went live in the great state of Maryland. So when you sign up, deposit, and place a wager in the same day, you're going to receive a bonus of up to $500. So be sure to get in on that action if you live in the great state of Maryland with our friends over at Superbook Sports. And what a great partner in the Baltimore Orioles, my friend.
Absolutely. Hit a walk-off today. Adley Rushman going yard. You could see both the Superbook signs in the outfield during it.
Love it.
A perfect way to end the Orioles game today in our first day live in Maryland.
Good stuff. Well, sign up if you're in Maryland. If you're in Colorado like myself, you can sign up with Superbook Sports as well. I'm on afternoon drive 4 to 6 p.m. on Mile High Sports Radio. Superbook is our sponsor over there, so you'll be able to hear all the good word about Superbook. And you are in Las Vegas, Nevada. Why don't you tell people about what's going on at the mothership that is the location at the Westgate?
Yeah, come on by. Perfect place to watch all of the games. And we got the NBA play-in games coming up. Got some great sports this weekend. NHL season ending. We got my guy Jonathan Taves making his last game tonight against the Flyers. Last game in the best sweater in the NHL. Perfect place to watch the games.
Good stuff. Well, hey, Colorado, Nevada, Maryland, Arizona, New Jersey, among others, be sure to sign up with our friends over at Superbook and follow them on social media at Superbook Sports. You did, my man. Good stuff as always. We'll do it again next week. Let's see how the weekend of betting and the weekend of sports plays out. But until then, have a good weekend, guys.
Yes, sir. Go Bulls.
Let's go.